huge news in the world of Minecraft, because Mojang has announced that they're gonna change the graphics API of Minecraft Java Edition from OpenGL to Vulkan. So let's talk about what this means for the game's future and for the future of Minecraft mods. Do double check if you're subbed to the channel. The vast majority of my daily viewers are not, and I would appreciate it so much if you did. So this is the article where Mojang is announcing these big changes. Now, we're not gonna go over the entire thing because it is quite a big read, but let me sum it up for you. Basically, Minecraft Java Edition specifically is using a graphics API called OpenGL, which makes it so that you can see Minecraft on your screen. Now, OpenGL is immensely outdated. It has essentially not received an update in over a decade, which becomes a problem with a modern game. Now, overall, Mojang is still managing things quite well, but there is a problem on the horizon that Mojang needs to counter. The fact that in the future, OpenGL is no longer gonna work on macOS. Now that is of course not the only problem with OpenGL, but it is a very prominent one. If they do nothing, in the future, the game is no longer gonna run on macOS. And Mojang wants to keep Java Edition working on all PCs and Macs. And then there is the problem that Mojang really wants to bring vibrant visuals to Java Edition. You know, Mojang's official shaders. And OpenGL just doesn't really allow Mojang to do that. So 3 big issues. OpenGL is immensely outdated, it will not support macOS in the future, and it doesn't really allow for something like vibrant visuals to work. Reason enough to switch. So Mojang is changing Minecraft's graphics API from OpenGL to Vulkan. Now what is Vulkan? It is also just a graphics API, just like OpenGL, that has about 10 years of history, and it has been adopted across all major hardware vendors. One of the biggest pluses is that it can totally work on macOS with a translation layer, which Mojang will of course then be making. So that means that by switching to Vulkan, Minecraft Java is gonna keep working on macOS. And then there is the fact that Vulkan will allow for eventually performance gains. In other words, the game is gonna run better, which is something that Mojang needs to eventually implement vibrant visuals. So overall, this is a very positive change. It basically means that Mojang is making Java Edition future-proof. There has been so much speculation in the community that at some point Mojang is just gonna drop Java Edition altogether and they're only gonna keep going with Bedrock Edition as the main version of the game and Java Edition will just be left to die. Well, that's not happening. Mojang making this switch shows that they're fully dedicated to keep this version of Minecraft supported even far into the future, which for lovers of this game is incredible to hear. It also means that it's gonna keep working on all platforms, we're gonna get vibrant visuals at some point, so all very positive stuff, but that doesn't mean it's gonna be a very, well, smooth transition. At least not for modders. And then specifically for mods that plug directly into OpenGL. In other words, mods that actively use or modify Minecraft's rendering engine. Like for example Sodium and Iris shaders and Distant Horizons. Those types of mods. For them, this is gonna be a very big change. And for some of these projects, it is gonna be extremely time consuming to switch them over to Vulkan. So at the time of recording this video, IMS has already ported Sodium over to Vulkan, and it took about 5 hours, which is quite impressive. Here you can see a fun little screenshot. Sodium running on Vulkan looks perfectly fine, problem solved. But for Iris shaders and especially for Distant Horizons, it's not gonna be that easy. Those mods directly plug into OpenGL. And you may be like, well, Kasai, don't they all? Well, not really. So even though OpenGL is the graphics API that Minecraft Java Edition is using, the name of their actual rendering engine is Blaze 3D. Now when you're a developer and when you make a mod, you can decide to make that mod talk directly to Blaze 3D. And Blaze 3D on its turn will then talk to OpenGL. Now for mods that do this, not that much is gonna change. Because what Mojang is gonna do is they're still gonna keep Blaze 3D. The engine is going nowhere, but they're just kinda replacing the backend, if that makes sense. So Blaze 3D will no longer talk to OpenGL, instead in the future it will talk to Vulkan. So the vast majority of mods that simply talk to Blaze 3D already, they're not gonna notice that much when it comes to this change. I mean, the backend of Blaze 3D will be replaced, but it's not gonna immediately break everything. The mods that are gonna be breaking are the mods that kinda bypass Blaze 3D and plug directly into OpenGL. Now you might wonder, why would they do this? Well, because Blaze 3D is just not that powerful, and it was missing a bunch of features. Mod developers wanted to do more cool stuff that Blaze 3D did not allow, so instead of plugging into that rendering engine, they plugged directly into OpenGL. And those mods, the mods that do this, essentially have to be completely rewritten, but then for Vulkan, which is gonna be a very time-consuming task. And you might feel it coming already, but yes indeed, Iris shaders and Distant Horizons both plug directly into OpenGL, meaning for them to work on the new Vulkan Minecraft, they're basically gonna have to be rewritten. Yeah, that's gonna take a lot of time, and that's gonna be a massive pain. Now this is a message interesting to show. It is from Dinnerbone, one of Minecraft's developers, and he is saying, my plea to anyone who maintains mods that directly use OpenGL is to please put together a list of features you need from our Blaze 3D API before you be able to switch from GL to it. Now what does he mean by this? Basically he is saying, instead of bypassing Blaze 3D again, like happened with OpenGL, what features do you absolutely need from us so that you don't have to make this bypass anymore? That you can just directly plug into Minecraft's rendering engine without weird bypasses or anything like that. So that is definitely a W move. Hopefully Mojang is going to be able to include important features in Blaze 3D so that bypassing it is no longer necessary. That would be great. As for Iris shaders and Distant Horizons, and Voxy as well, the question is really, what's gonna happen to them? Because in Iris's case, porting Iris shaders completely over from OpenGL to either Blaze 3D or Vulkan, that is gonna be really time consuming. Like, that is not something which you can just do on a casual afternoon. It is gonna be a lot of work. And in the case of Iris, there may be a chance that it will simply get discontinued. Here we got a message by the Iris developer. Officially, yes. I am saying Iris will be discontinued, just so I'm not responsible if it is. In reality, I'm still deciding. And you may be like, oh no, does this mean shaders are gonna cease to exist for Minecraft Java Edition? Well, no. Absolutely not. In reality, the Iris developer has been working on a brand new shader mod for a long time now, called Aperture, which is set to completely replace Iris. Here again, you got the Iris shader developer saying, we are all Aperture developers now. Iris is gonna be gone soon. And if it will be completely discontinued, we don't know yet. Maybe someone will still continue the project, but the goal of the Iris developer seems clear now. Aperture is gonna be the future. That is gonna be the new Vulkan compatible shader mod. But how it will actually turn out, only time will tell. Now, as for when this is happening, Mojang says that they're gonna bring Vulkan into snapshots sometime over the summer. For a little while, players will be able to toggle between OpenGL and Vulkan, but after Vulkan is stable enough, OpenGL will be fully removed. And that's it for now. Do make sure to subscribe to the channel, join my Discord. Thank you so much, channel members, and then I will see you in the next one. Bye bye, see you later, bye bye.